Hey, what is happening, Mark? How are you today, buddy?
Dave, your background is beautiful. Your sport coat. I mean, your studio is ever changing, brother.
It is changing by the miles. By the miles. Mark, can you believe we've already gone 3,000 miles?
Well, we haven't, but you and Jennifer have.
Yeah, well, you and I have traveled the globe on several occasions at this point, my friend. Well, listen, so welcome everybody. This is BS Friday with Mark Bare Naked Willie and myself, Dave Cooper, DaveCooper.live. If you're just joining us, please like and share this video right now. And remember, we are live on 4 locations: LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, and
Twitch with
and
Greg
why are we on
Ugaldi.
Twitch? Because Greg Ugaldi's on Twitch. I know it. And so is others. You know, Andrew Seeley joined us on Twitch, I believe it was yesterday. So it is growing. We're starting a new platform of Twitch, actually. That's where the young people are, and that's why we're there. Mark, what you been up to, man? You've been a busy guy.
This is another exciting week, Dave. I think a lot of us have recovered from IBS, right? And caught up with our emails and our calls. I'm doing a lot with Illinois Green Alliance. As you know, they have an incredible amount of things happening with our friends to the north in Canada. So little plug there. I'm moderating on next Wednesday, so I'll tag you in that post, Dave.
Yeah.
But it's the weekend, and I'm working this weekend, of course.
That's all right. Hey, listen, that means you're busy, and that's a good thing. And I think when you love what you do, it's not really work. You still get tired, but it's not really work. You know, and I've talked about this the other day with Miles, too. It's like, I actually really like what I'm doing.
Speaking of Miles, I got another event from him. He's doing another thing.
Yeah, he is. Overachievers, Mark. All these overachievers. I don't know how we can keep up. I don't think we can at our age.
I think someone's going to write a book about all the things that Miles does. Oh, wait, he already did that.
Yeah, it's the Already He Did That book. That's the name of the book.
So we were talking before the show, Dave, before you came on, and we need a new T-shirt. And the new T-shirt is Dave Cooper Live. We are rolling, or we're rolling. Jennifer wrote it down. It was good.
I love it. I'm in it. Yeah, I was a little late joining on today, trying to get my internet and everything pulled together. All right, everybody, listen. Mark and I can ramble on forever. We get on the phone, we just talk for an hour, hour and a half sometimes, and then we're like, listen, dude, I got to go. So that's just the way it goes and the way it rolls. But we got an interesting show today, man. We got Rob Hoskin on today, right? And we have a special introduction for him, which is going to be awesome as well. Why don't you set us up for today's show, Mark? Go for it.
So today's show is all about Pittsburgh. We have some fine professionals, including the Coopers on, and the good doctor will be giving the introduction for Rob. I can't wait to hear his version, and I would like to introduce Rhett Major to the audience, and please tell us about yourself, and then we'll roll into the introductions. Hello, Rhett.
Hey, what's up, Rhett?
Thanks, Dave. Thanks, Mark. You have to tell me about that name sometime. It has a history. So I've been in this business since 1988, longer than, not you two, but longer than some of the guys in this business have been alive. I graduated from college and immediately took the name The Energy Doctor as a fictitious name, obviously. And I've been operating really for, I guess that's 33 years now. I can't add. Really been doing this most of the time. There's other times when I've had to do other things for a living because it hasn't been cool. A lot of times I felt like I was laboring alone in the dark. If you guys know what I'm talking about.
Very much.
In the early 2000s, I bought my first blower door because prior to that I worked for other people and used their equipment. Bought my first blower door, started looking around for work. I went to what was probably the first Energy Star house in Pennsylvania. And that's where I met Rob. This is 2006. I think we're still not certain. So in 2006, I met Rob and found out he's the president of the West Penn Power Sustainability energy fund, sustainable energy fund. And I was impressed with that, of course, but I thought he was just a policy wonk. I thought, just a guy in a suit, right? Then I found out he does real work.
This guy works.
He works. He's an architect. He operates blower doors just like I do. He does real work with real people. And starting in, I think it's 2009, we started doing projects together. And we've done a lot of multifamily energy audits. I'm the guy that crawls through the attic usually because that's what I do best. Rob's the guy that puts it all together and reports because that's what he does best. I don't have an accurate count, but I know we've been in dozens and dozens of projects covering thousands of units, not only existing houses, a lot of existing houses in the 2009, 2010, a lot of existing units, but a lot of new construction too. And recently we've embarked on a lead project together where I'm the lead green raider. And although we both do passive houses, I don't think we've done anything together on passive house. Most of what we're doing involves existing homes, which is really where my expertise lies. As an energy doctor, I'm also a detective. So I'm pretty good at finding out what's wrong, pretty good at fixing. Now let's talk about Rob, because he's the guy today, right? So Rob he's a practicing Christian like myself, which is something to admire in this day and time. Rob has a lot of integrity over and above what you would expect on a job. His steadfastness and his commitment, to his family, to his faith, to his industry, and his commitment to steward the environment that we live in. So, ladies and gentlemen, I want you to meet my friend, my fellow worker, Mr. Rob Hoskin.
Awesome. All right. Hey, you Yinzers, man. I'm glad to have you on the show. I had to get my Yinzers in there.
How Yin's doing?
Doing great, man. Rob, thanks for joining us today. That was a pretty darn nice introduction as far as a lot of kudos went out there. Is that the right word, Mark? Kudos?
That Rhett, I have to tell you, it is honestly my favorite with the PH introduction thus far. When you bring up the personal nature of an industry colleague and how they are as a person, not just a professional, this is what strikes me as the blessings of this industry. So I really appreciated your words, and it just shows how awesome you are, Rob.
Well, and everything Rhett says shows how awesome he is.
Beautiful.
I know it. And the fact, Rhett, that you're still climbing through attics. I'm not hanging out with you at work. I have no desire to climb through attics. I love it, but hey, that's how you have to do your detective work, though, right?
Where you find the problems.
That's where they are. Absolutely. All right. So, Rhett, we're going to come back to you at the end of the program here. So you hang tight. We're going to bring you in for some questions and answers. Should there be some? There usually is. And Rob, we want to know everything about you from the moment you were born to this very moment in time. And don't leave out any of the good stuff from the hospital, or Mark Willie is going to call your mother. Got it? You have about 2 to 3 minutes to do it. Go for it.
All right. Well, I'd love to tell you guys about my experience in making it through the birth canal. But apparently, I'm sure it was scary, and it was, it was amazing. But I don't actually remember that. Sorry, guys. I do have some early memories. And one of the things I wanted to touch on is just, like Rhett was saying, kind of connection to the environment. So, the human brain is possibly at least as interesting as building science, maybe. It's pretty amazing. My brain, I think, started recording memories around 4 years old. And one of the earliest memories I have is like a nature memory. And it's, it might be a little bit, cheesy or something to talk about, individual memories, but I remember being a kid and just like laying down in the grass and looking at the things that were growing there, and just, you know, being really connected to the environment. And I still feel that way. I think everybody does, really. And so, and that was in Wisconsin. I grew up in Wisconsin in a passive solar house. And I have a picture I'm going to show in one of my slides of that house. And that, my dad, who's not an architect, basically designed that in the energy crisis. And it had huge, gigantic windows. They were like 7 feet tall by 9 feet wide, and there were 6 of these things on the south side of the house. And it got hot in there in the winter, and we didn't have our heat on at all. So, you know, growing up, I was able to see that, you know, there is such a thing as a zero energy house. It's not that hard to do. You can be a little bit more sophisticated about it than my family was, but you know, it's possible to achieve these things with our buildings. And then I, as a college student, I went from Wisconsin and Ohio, and I took a semester in New York City, and you know, it was a big contrast from being sort of at the edge of the countryside into the big city, where basically, you know, nature is getting crushed. And so that kind of, I think, kind of drove me over the edge into wanting to do green architecture. And that's what I ended up doing for the rest of my college career, and then into architecture school and into my career. So, yeah.
It's a formidable path, Rob. I was following your words point by point. I didn't grow up in a passive solar house, but my aunt and uncle did, and same experiences, right? As a kid, just engulfing the environment and experiencing it, and then the path that it took you from there. Wonderful background, and it allows you to have the care and the insight that's needed in our industry, and how you handle that as a professional is sets you apart.
All right. Yeah.
You know, it's funny. We talk about this all the time, Mark. It always starts from a passion. Where did it begin? Childhood at your age, right? You know, just sitting there wondering how life is happening wherever you were, and the growth of plants and all this stuff. I think that, you know, everybody that we have been meeting on this show, at least 99% of them, this started out of something that was life-changing for them at an early age, at a later age with kids, or whatever the case is. But it's really what's been driving people to take a harder look at what we do, as opposed to accepting the norm.
Yeah, and I'm stuck with a question, and you might get to it later when you show the picture, Rob. But so, if your father designed the house in Wisconsin, did he need to do drafting, or did he build it? There had to be some part there that also resonated for you, right?
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. I mean, he kind of liked to do the drafting part of it, and he's like designed some buildings recently that he's kind of been dreaming of developing for years and years. And he's the type of guy who will like redraw his drawing like every week for, you know, years. But then also my mom is an interesting influence too, because she's the type of person who wants to look at houses under construction. And she, you know, she sees an open house sign, she's going to stop the car and get out and go in and look around. And, you know, in our neighborhood when it was getting built, you know, she would be in all the houses looking around. And
It's
so,
awesome.
Yeah.
Like during the construction phase itself too, not just the open houses, right?
Yep.
Yep.
Cool. Super cool.
You get those little, you know, those little silver order things from the electric box punch outs, and collect those. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. So, Rob, you have a presentation for us today, and I think now would be a good time. Let's kind of hop into a couple hellos real quick. Mark, let's see who's in the audience here today. Hey, Andrew Seeley, G. Partenberry, happy to join another BS Friday, PH. What is happening, Andrew? Mark, you've got a bunch of comments in there. We got Jennifer from Dave Cooper Live coming into you from Twitch, and I see a bunch of other people are on Twitch. I see every one of you out there. You all better start putting some comments and hellos. Let us know where you're from. We're just getting started today. There's going to be a whole bunch of information getting ready to come out.
Yeah, I know you're got your hands full, Jennifer. I love the T-shirt. If you can put the link to Twitch on there of the show, I think it seems like this is really catching on. I'm a LinkedIn guy. I don't have a Twitch account yet, but Dave keeps nudging me to get one.
You need one. Everybody needs a Twitch account. Let's get into Twitch. If we want young people in our industry, we have to go to the young people. When you were young, did you ever go, oh, I want to go hang out with the old people?
I always did. I loved it.
Well, yes, if you're brought into it on job sites and the things that you were doing in the lumber mills in the yard. But most people, when they're done with their school and family, are not going, hey, I want to go hang out with the old guys or the old girls, right? It's just not. So let's go where they are. That's my philosophy anyhow.
Yeah. I will say as a youth, my great-grandfather was by far my best friend. I encourage people of all ages to cross-pollinate, right, and mix our wisdoms.
One of the catchphrases that you always got to remember is meet them where they are, right?
Yeah, exactly.
There it is. That's it. We're meeting them where they are. I'm going to start using that. I love it. Right. See, all the smart people are in Pittsburgh, man.
Jennifer, Rob's got another shirt. There we go. We're up to 2 shirts today.
We are up to 2 shirts. So, all right, let's move into this. Thanks, Rick Hernandez, for joining us as well. Rick's out there, so love it. Heinz Building Supplies in the house. Love it. All right, let's get into this presentation, shall we?
Let's go. I'm ready.
All right, we are up on the screen. Let's hit it.
Okay, cool. So you guys see it okay? Everything's good?
Everything's good.
Perfect.
Okay, so this is my presentation. I'll try not to belabor it. I'm always tempted to tell everything I know and try to tell everything I know when I give a presentation. It doesn't usually go very well when I try that. And I run out of things to say and people kind of lose people. So I'll try not to do that. So this presentation, what I wanted to talk about, something that's just been on my mind. I kind of like to try to bring things together, bring ideas together and bring people together. And I've been kind of working in 2 different places. And I've been working in the Passive House community as a verifier. And I've also been working on other commercial buildings doing commissioning. And so far, I haven't seen much of the 2 different worlds understanding each other. So I wanted to try and encourage that. And that's what this is about. All right. So I went out on a walk the other night and walking through my neighborhood, and this great big giant building is going up not too far from where I live. And as far as I know, this is a conventional construction building. It's not going to get any green certification as far as I know. And let's just take this as an example. If anybody's out there who's working on this project in Pittsburgh and sees it, I don't want to get in trouble. But, there's a lot of buildings going up all the time. And, my question working as a Passive House person and just somebody who grew up in a solar house and knows what's possible, why shouldn't all buildings, a building like this, why shouldn't this building achieve Passive House levels of performance? And
what's interesting, Rob, is with the plastic up now, it's probably a better air sealing than it's going to have down the road. It's a great question you posed. When you sent me the slide, I couldn't help but post it to LinkedIn right away. It's going to have a lot of glazing. who knows the use of it? But I would say the opposite. If someone out there is involved with the project, now would be a good time to call Rob and say, hey, can we get you in on a blower door? Can we at least see where we're performing and where we could do better?
Yep, I like it. I agree. All right, so hey, here's my two different worlds. I like this slide a lot. I had a lot of fun putting this together. So your conventional or industry standard guy is on the left. Your passive house guy is on the right. They're like, what is this other guy talking about? What's passive house all about? Why should I care? And what is this, building commissioning that they talk about? And is it any good? We know passive house is really good standard. So why doesn't everybody just do that and ignore everything else? I'm trying to bring these two guys together.
Let me know when you bring those people together, because Dave and I we're gonna bring the cake and the ice cream.
All right. Yeah. So this is the house that I grew up in. You see my picture there. My picture is actually close to where my bedroom was on the upper left. You see that window that's reflecting the daylight there. That was my room. It got nice and toasty in there on a 0 degree day in the winter when the sky was clear. And there were a lot of those in Wisconsin when I was growing up. So, so not super fancy, but, it really proved that you can do zero energy houses.
So the first floor, the in between the trees, is that like a solarium to harness the sun coming in?
That is, yeah. Actually, that got added after my family left, but I think it was always, an idea in the back of my dad's mind that somebody else did. So. Yeah.
You also see a lot of that in Colorado, right? They'll have the stone floor, and during the day, that floor heats up, and it actually radiates out that heat during the night. It's free energy, right? Never-ending amount of free energy.
Yep.
You know what, Mark? That's. I think that's the first time that was said on the show with the radiant floor heating, right? That's a component of it people don't normally think of, because that concrete it starts embodying that heat, and that heat radiates also out, and you're not constantly running that floor heat all the time, right? You're actually getting other benefits when you have that hydronic floor heat encased in the floor, right? In the concrete or whatever.
I actually took it one step further, Dave, but that's a perfect point. A lot of times the thermal mass of the concrete or stone floor itself will absorb the radiant energy from the sun.
Right.
That heats up the floor, not electric or hydronic. And then during the night, of course, when the radiant energy is lost in space, if you will, that thermal mass is now going, the warmth of the floor is going to the cool of the room, right? The warm goes to cold. Right. And so you're getting that free energy being through convection, right? It's moving. Did I say that right, Rob?
Yeah, and so for all the residential energy professionals out there who use REM rate, there's a little trick you can do with that. And somebody showed us that, and we usually put thermal mass where applicable in our REM rate models.
It's one of my favorite building science terms when we first got into this, and Rob, you probably saw the same, and watch, Dave's going to come out with a shirt with it. It's radiant, conduction, and convection, right? Those three things allow us to be comfortable or uncomfortable.
Right. Yep. So even if your room air is warm, if your wall is 45 degrees, you're losing heat to the wall. That's radiation, right?
Science. I love it. Science.
Yep. I thought you were going to say something about thermal mass underneath the shirt.
Well, no. We're not. I'm not going to go there. But I am living in an RV and eating too many cinnamon toast crunch is definitely building more thermal mass under my shirt than I care to have lately. But hey, that's what it's like when you're living with a bus full of kids.
You use scientific notation to keep track of your cinnamon toast crunches?
Yeah, I do. It's just how many can fit in my hand as I throw them in my face, and then I got to get all the sugar out of my beard. Mark has the same problem. He knows what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
All right, back to it, man.
Yeah, I advanced the slides. So
Got it up.
I told my story, and I went to architecture school and graduated and came to Pittsburgh. And this is kind of like, this building here is the biggest one that I worked on as an architect. Yeah. And so, I've seen early in my career, I saw, buildings up to this size and managed those projects. And then I left my job because it was getting to be too much. And I had little kids, and I had a wife who was working as a physician. So I left that, and I was kind of reassessing what I was doing with my career. And I discovered something about myself, which is that I'm a restless guy. I have to be doing something. So I started a business, and found out through that sustainable energy fund that Rhett talked about, found out about becoming a HERS rater and an energy auditor for homes. And there was some training that I jumped in on with that. And I was like, yeah, this is right along the lines of what I'm interested in. So started doing that, and formed Building Performance Architecture. Here's the slide. It doesn't say BHAG on it, big, hairy, audacious goal. But the purpose there is helping leaders of multifamily and commercial projects overcome roadblocks by providing simplified hands-on solutions to get high quality outcomes. So that brings in the quality control aspect of what we do. When you see a blower door, that's quality control. And then the mission is also the big, hairy, audacious goal is to greatly increase building energy efficiency and greatly reduce building carbon emissions to speed the transition to a zero carbon economy. So pretty ambitious, but why have small goals, right?
Don't have small goals. Big, hairy, audacious goals. That's what we want.
It's so clean and concise. My favorite banners are always like this. It has your brand. Your brand is inviting, right? It shows the nature, it shows the building, and then plain and simple English, brother. Our purpose, our mission. These are my favorite slides. Love it.
All right.
Yeah, listen, if you are a business out there and you don't have purpose and mission, then you better start working on it, because that's your roadmap to success right there.
Yeah, and then knowing yourself, Rob, when you're like, hey, I was restless and I needed to do this.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people out there can identify with that. And if someone is restless, look at this slide and become without rest, because that's what it's like owning your own business.
Yeah, for sure.
Yep.
Hey, Rob, that last building with the eagle, is that down the south? Is that in the south side?
Yeah, it's down on the south side.
You hear it? South side. Got it.
It's built on an old steel mill site.
Right. Yeah.
The thing I like about it, Rob, is the solar shading from the tree and the eagle, right?
That's right. Well, we were gonna put more solar shading in there, but then the owner kind of nixed the actual solar shading in that top framework there. But it's a cool look. So
someone's got an uncomfortable desk or bedroom or something, right?
Yeah. So this building was before I really got into the practice of energy efficiency. And, now I know a lot more, and I would probably do the building quite a bit differently than I did. But anyway, let's move on. So here's
I'll tell you real quick, Rob, if you can find someone that won't build a building different the second time, that's the guy I want to meet, or gal, because I think all of us experience that, right? We do a project with all the skills of our team, and then when the project's done, we're like, "Ooh, I could have done it this way."
Yeah.
Right? We're enlightened because we're passionate about always learning and doing our best.
Mm-hmm.
For
So,
sure.
and that project and some other ones is where I really exercised my passion for detail drawings. There's a lot of construction detailing that goes into a building like that, and I still like doing that, even though I'm not designing many buildings. That's part of commissioning, is doing design review, and people say I do a good job at that. A lot of people are saying that.
It's a real skill set. That's great.
The proof is in the pudding, as they say.
Right. So here's a couple houses that we worked on that are Passive House certified. So at first in our business, we started out doing smaller buildings. And for anybody watching out there who saw our purpose statement, I'm not trying to leave small houses out of it, but we have been moving in the larger building direction. So we're still going to help you guys who we're working on residential projects with. So on the bottom left, there's a duplex in the Squirrel Hill neighborhood of Pittsburgh, and on the right is a single family house. Where is that? It's near Beaver, PA, I believe that is. So, so we've done some Passive House certified buildings, and then moving on, this building here was actually our first Passive House project that we did. I really wanted to work with this client, and the client said, well, if you guys get your Passive House credentials, we could use you on a project. And here was this 23 unit apartment building. And it also happens to be, it's in Pittsburgh, happens to be the first FIAS certified apartment building in the US. At least that's what Katrin Klingenberg told me.
Congratulations. I mean, someone's got to be the first. And the fact that it's 23 units, that means a lot of people get the benefit of a low energy, very comfortable FIAS Plus dwelling unit, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So, Rob, what was the most difficult thing about this building right here when it comes to designing, a FIAS certified building? Was there an obstacle? There always is, that you had to overcome on this project?
Yeah, well, actually, we didn't design it. We were the QA QC, so that's what I'm going to be getting into more in the presentation, is how we did the QA QC. But I think the biggest challenge for this one was the blower door testing. From our perspective, was that as sometimes happens, the preliminary test was the tightest the building ever got, and then they started. And this is a really good contractor who is very conscientious, but after that initial air barrier is sealed up very nicely, then you have to put penetrations through it. You have to put light fixtures outside and stuff like that. So we did a final test, and it didn't pass the 0.6 ACH 50 as it was back then. And they had some staff people like crawling above the ceilings and stuff like that for a few weeks, looking for all the holes and stuff. And then we got a retest, and it did pass. So
awesome.
That was a great day.
Big kudos to the builder and the team, right? With their commitment. to go in and chase those penetrations, especially when this was built, because they're the first, right? They're discovering and uncovering and discovering, and you're looking for this, right? You're looking for lots of little tiny holes. Wonderful.
Sounds like a job for the energy doctor, Rhett Major. Right? He loves crawling through attics and spaces and doing the detective work, man. That would have been perfect.
Yep, we should have had him there. It would have been, instead of 3 weeks, it would have been 3 days.
Love it. The detective doctor.
Detective doctor.
All right, so here's the definition of quality assurance and quality control. Quality assurance is more like in the design phase, and there's a lot of that in Passive House. There's energy modeling and design review and stuff like that. Quality control is the hands-on part, where you actually get in the building and see how the builders are building it, and make sure that it's being built properly. Sometimes that involves testing. So then this other blurb at the bottom is says passive building standards have rigorous energy efficiency and quality requirements, but they only have a limited set of verification requirements. And when we get into commercial buildings, it's like the whole kind of world opens up of possibilities of what the building might be. And there's so much variety that you kind of need a broader range of QA QC tools than is what's in the standard like passive protocols, right?
Yeah.
All right. So here's a couple other buildings that we worked on. This one was a Passive House targeted project. It was a renovation of an old church building, and they turned it into a public library. We worked
What does targeted mean? VS Plus targeted.
Targeted just means that they were going for it and they didn't quite make it.
Got it.
It's still an energy efficient building. It just,
Right.
It was kind of in the early days, and we've learned a lot since then. We could probably make it certified, at this point, based on what we've learned in the 7 years since this project happened.
Got it.
This one is actually just the bottom floor of this building. Was actually a medical office. Most of the building had been renovated. This is an old high school in Pittsburgh. Most of it had been renovated into senior apartments. But in the bottom floor, there was a space for a medical office that, again, we worked to make it passive certified. Almost got it. So the infrared image kind of shows at night when it was cold outside, that bottom floor looks a little bit cooler than the upper floors, showing that there was more of a thermal barrier there.
It's such an incredible photo, right? When you first admire the building, right? And then you go back and you see what's really happening there. I don't know anyone who doesn't respect the insight of a therm camera. I know a lot of people don't know how to use them well, but I would say it just speaks volume for what's happening. I love it.
Yep.
What temperature range would you say? Do you remember when you took this photograph?
Yeah, I'm even able to see it here. It's between 20 degrees and 30 degrees Fahrenheit. That was a cold night when I went out there and did that.
Yeah.
So.
And can you explain to people, Rob, why you do it at that temperature?
Yeah, because the building's being heated on the inside and it's cold outside. So if there's thermal bridging with heat getting out of the building where it shouldn't be, you're going to see it.
Yeah. So for instance, if it's a 70-degree day outside, and the house is typically building is being heated or cooled to 70 degrees, not a good time for a therm camera.
Exactly. Yeah. So, yeah, we're still in the good season right now here in the area where I am, but farther down south, once you've broken the cold snap, getting into warmer weather and in the springtime, you have to watch for days sometimes when there's a decent temperature difference. You can do it, also you can do it when it's 95 degrees out and the building's being cooled to, 72 or whatever.
Yep.
So, yeah.
We used to like to have someone open a window after we got our first round of photographs so that you could see how much that transfers to the panes next to it, right? And how quick it transfers. If you just take a couple photographs when it's 5 degrees outside, it's that heat has left the building.
Yep. And it goes to the other windows, huh?
Yeah, quite quickly, right? Conduction.
Okay.
I love it. Before we move on to the next slide, let's say hello to a few people. What do you think?
Let's say
we're into this 45 minutes. We want to give people their hellos. All right, here we go. We got Shannon Pendleton, Rob Hoskin, Heart SEF. What does SEF mean? I don't know what.
Sustainable Energy Fund.
Love it. She also says, I'm stealing all of our good quotes. I don't know about that. First come, first serve, Shannon. I didn't know. I apologize. Yeah, well, she's busy. Oh, my goodness. Shannon joining from New Hope plus Philly, PA. Hey, we love New Hope, man. I've been to New Hope several times. In fact, is New Hope where they have like the riding horse, the headless horseman at Halloween and stuff riding through the streets? I think that's New Hope.
Oh, that's Sleepy Hollow, Dave.
Nope, New Hope.
Okay. Well, we can ask Shannon. We can ask Shannon in a couple of weeks because she's going to be on Building Science Live
right here.
Sweet.
Yeah. Well, listen, then I got to start writing down all these quotes so I have it in writing and get it all trademarked and patented and copyrighted and everything else you got. All right, I see Shannon's gunning for us, Mark. I got it. All right, moving. All right. T-Stud. Now, is this you or Brian in the background? Small world. We used to live just off Carson Street in the Berg, just up the way from the American Eagle building. So cool. Nice to get to know you virtually, Rob. So,
yeah,
I didn't know that, man.
I didn't know that either. That is not me. I never lived there. That's Brian Iverson, and he certainly did. So
yeah,
your paths have crossed again, you guys.
Yeah, maybe he went to the pretzel shop to get his pretzel sandwiches on the south side.
Oh man, how good is that?
I'll give you his number, Rob. You could ask him. When I get pretzels, I dip them in mustard. I'm a mustard dipper.
A mustard dipper? I do like mustard too. Yeah, I'm with you on there. Unless I go to the Philly pretzel place, and then they have this, I don't know, it's like the icing you get on a cinnamon roll that you can, it's something crazy, but it's really good.
No, I like savory, definitely savory or spicy, like a nice German mustard.
German mustard? Well, listen, you got a savory beard to store it in when you don't get it all in your mouth. It works. Saving that for later. All right, Scott Farben, Rob Hoskin, how has your expertise trickled down to your personal home? How many times you have blower-doored your own house? Being a new homeowner, I feel like the building science gods are constantly testing my resolve.
So before you answer, Rob, you should know, if you haven't met Scott before, he's an engineer, right? And Scott's questions are great. So you have the mic, Rob.
Okay. Well, I've blower doored my personal home a few times, and right now, my personal home is kind of a long-term goal. My brain is where it's at in terms of knowing what to do, but then my house is in a different place at this point.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, that's a lot of people, though. But you can do small things, and that's what we tell everybody. You can't get overwhelmed. And like you said, it sounds to me from that comment that you're going to get there, but you're taking small steps one at a time, probably because life just gets in the way like it does on a lot of us when it comes to redoing things on our house.
Well, there's that theory too, right? That the cobbler's kids have no shoes.
Yeah, the cobbler's too busy making the shoes for everybody else.
It's also when you have a passion and you're doing it for your community and the buildings in your community, and certainly Rob works in communities well beyond his. It's all consuming. There's often not a window where you can take care of yours, because that extra time goes to our families, right, and our friends, and that support staff that allows us to do our passion and to transform the lives of other people. So all of our houses will get there, but we need to lend a hand to one another.
Love it. All right. Buzz Holitzer's joining us. Happy Friday from Buzz. What's happening, Buzz? I hope your weather is cold and wintry, so those snowmobiles are running hot. Love it. All right. Shannon Pendleton. Oh, she said, look, write that down, Mark. Take a screenshot. You don't see that very often.
I think it's nice when people acknowledge one another. If we don't, we're going to have to duke it out.
I love it. It's Abby, not Brian. Brian's daughter.
Well, that I knew. Yeah, Abby's husband. They're from Pennsylvania. Absolutely, that I knew, but I didn't know Abby lived there. Wonderful.
All right, Abby. I'm glad I'm finally getting to the brains of the operation here. This is awesome, Abby. You and I are going to talk. I got a lot to say. No, I'm just kidding. Thanks for tuning in, Abby. That's awesome. Love Pittsburgh. I'm from Pittsburgh. All roads lead back to Pittsburgh. It drives Jennifer crazy. All right, moving down the line. Oh, we got Buzz says Free Willy, and the one, the only, the original Twitch user,
Greg Ugaldi.
What's happening?
Greg Ugaldi. Thumbs up, Mr. NAHB. Love it, Greg.
Yeah. We always love it when Greg joins us. If you don't know who Greg is the immediate past chairman of the NAHB. He is the gentleman that walks into the White House, regardless of the president, and updates them on housing from the NAHB standards. So it's always fun when Greg joins us on the show. He pays attention to what we're talking about because he really cares about the industry, and he's committed to helping it go in the right direction. And that's what's super awesome about Greg. He's very
Hey, Greg, next time you're over there, tell him Rob's ready to bring the blower door to the White House. We're gonna caulk those windows. we're gonna make the White House a passive house. Let's do it, Greg. You're talented people in the NAHB. Let's make the White House the passive house.
You know what? That is funny. I bet what a project to do, wouldn't it be? I bet there could be a grant out there to make our government buildings, starting with our own White House. I don't know how they're going to let you between all the walls, because I'm sure there's stuff we're not allowed to know that's there. However, I think that's an awesome
Well,
idea.
it's perfect, right? Because we could insulate it from the inside or the outside. There's many strategies, but the building modeler and QA/QC has to be Rob, because it happened here. So we're putting a line in the sand. The blower door must be done by Rob and his team.
That's right. We'll get the government to lead the way so others will follow. All right.
Yeah,
Thanks
I'm just going to call the government and tell them that.
Yeah. There's the humor. I bet, Rob, I bet it just comes out the more comfortable you get. I can only imagine. I love it. That's funny. Let's get back to our presentation here before I go way off track. I love it.
All right.
Ready?
Yeah.
The deck is back up.
Good. Well, I've just been looking at it the whole time. But yeah, so here's a building. This is an $80 million school construction project where we got to do, actually we did building envelope commissioning, which is a lot of what happens in Passive House. But there's also HVAC commissioning that was done on this project. So my little subtitle here is, this is conventional construction. They weren't pursuing LEED certification or anything like that. But they had a lot of commissioning done on the buildings to make sure everything was running right, and it did. So sometimes non-passive buildings receive more comprehensive commissioning.
So Rob, for the audience, you're also a HERS rater, right?
Yeah.
And then, do you also have your BPI? Is that in your wheelhouse?
Yes. Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. You're like, of course I am. So when you did the envelope testing on this, can you breathe into at what stage that happened and how that happened?
Yeah. So this one was a little difficult because we got hired after the contract was already signed, and the contractor wasn't really anticipating us doing this stuff. But we duked it out a little bit, and we managed to test some of the areas of the building, and we did it in like areas instead of the whole building. So if you see like on the right side of the image there, there's one wing of the one new building kind of in the background that we tested that one wing at one time, and then we went to the other wing and tested that. So that's how that happened, and we worked it into the schedule.
Those are interesting conversations, right? When you're
Yeah.
brought into a project, it's alarming for the contractor because he's like, who's looking over my shoulder, right? Now all of a sudden the team has grown, and there's some accountability that wasn't in the original contract per se. So eventually, I like how you said duke it out, but eventually, when you're showing the tests and confirming things, they also learned of what was working, right? And you were able to confirm that, and that's something from the construction personnel that's what they want, right? That's what they want to achieve. So while it could have started off in the beginning as a full design charrette, you were placed in the hot seat. They were placed in the hot seat, and collectively, you guys awarded the client with a wonderful project as a result.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what they said. They said, even beyond the testing that we did, part of the commissioning process is just being there on site and, watching, the details and that they're being done right. And the contractor told me, they felt like the main benefit of us being on the project was just that they knew somebody was watching, the envelope stuff.
You're the detective. Love it.
Yeah. All right. So here's another slide with a lot of words on it. There's a great diversity of QA/QC issues in non-residential or commercial buildings, and the industry's already developed commissioning protocols that are comprehensive and highly adaptable, and passive building standards. I think I'm starting to see passive building standards kind of recognizing that there is this world of commissioning out there. I think I heard some of that in some of the recent Zoom sessions this week. But, I think the more cross communication there is, the better. And, you see all these logos of organizations that encourage commissioning.
Absolutely. So I love the picture slides, and like you said, that's a word slide.
Mm-hmm.
If there's folks that are unfamiliar with the QA/QC and those organizations that Rob put up, it's why we're doing this. It's why we're sharing this, because there's professionals that you can go to that can give you the leg up and take you through the process. So not every town has a Rob or a Rhett or a Joe or a Lindsay, the other folks in your industry we've had on, but they're around, and they're awesome, and they're great to have at the beginning. Third-party professionals are when the party can start, because you don't want to throw a party and then bring the third party. Bring them in at the beginning, and you're going to love it.
Yep.
Start with the end in mind, especially when it comes to building any structure. You need to know where you're going in the beginning. If you don't want it to cost you a fortune and drive you absolutely crazy, get it on paper first, and or digital twin, whatever we're doing.
Yeah, we'll help you figure out how to make sure the building's getting built right, how, which tests to do and which tests to not do, and all that kind of stuff.
Love it.
It's wonderful. Love it.
All right, here's another pretty picture building. So this building, we did envelope commissioning, and it also has these amazing certifications. This is Living Building certified, I believe, LEED Platinum. And so we did envelope commissioning on it. There was also mechanical commissioning. The only thing it wasn't was passive. But when I get to a project like this, I bring the passive stuff along with me. So I'm always looking for that.
Do you remember the CFM on this one, the ACH?
I think this one was like 2 ACH.
2 ACH.
Yeah.
And how many square feet or cubic feet or cubic?
Oh, cubic feet. Let's see. Well, it was about 10,000 square feet. And,
okay.
If we say, 12 or 15 feet high. This actually used to be a municipal garage.
Oh.
And they converted it into a kind of a staff building and a exhibit construction space for a conservatory here in town, Phipps Conservatory.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
So I always like to give sizes, Rob, and I might be off here, but if we have 10,000 square feet and it's 2 ACH, would you say a basketball is the amount of penetrations added up to be the combined whole for the building? There I am.
Yeah, and most of that basketball is in the overhead doors, where the housings have a hard time stopping the air coming through.
Right.
Yeah, those gaskets can only do what they do, right? For some reason, our overhead doors do not have the gaskets as the worst automobiles on the planet, right? It's mind blowing. We'll get there someday. Some door company, watch in 2 years, Tesla's going to make doors, right?
They might. Hey, listen, guys, because we have a lot of people on the other social channels that may not know what ACH stands for. Why don't one of you please give your expert definition of what that means?
So it's the same as your MPH, right? If your car is MPG, right? Miles per gallon. If your car is miles per gallon, your building is air changes per hour. So it's a way for us to give a starting point. So when Rob and Rhett are go into existing buildings, first they give that as a baseline as how the building is performing, and then in the new constructions you're going to be doing that test at a mid-construction phase. So traditionally before it's insulated, you're going to put the red door of truth in, and you're going to get the ACH, and then you're going to start investigating while the door, whether pressurizing the building or depressurizing the building, you're going to start investigating where those leaks are, and you can certainly do that with the smoke guns. A lot of times you could simply do it with the back of your hand if you know where the penetrations are. But it's a reference point again to how big or how small the holes are. Some existing buildings you go into, you can't get a baseline because you simply can't pressurize it. They're that leaky.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they definitely are. And one of the things I think, Mark, that you were explaining perfectly, like you were doing it the right way. And I think for people to understand, if you take all the tiny little holes within a building and combine them together, it makes one gigantic hole. So you can't just walk by and say, oh, it's just a little nail hole. Well, if that little nail hole has happened 150 or 500 times throughout the entire building, that's a big hole. And that's kind of what you're saying. So you have to account for that. The details matter. The little things matter. Is that accurate?
It is. And sometimes I exaggerate a point because I'm trying to make an impression. So when we go, Rob spoke about he brings the passive house principles to projects that aren't passive. So he can't just leave his knowledge on the shelf and not help you ascertain the best energy reductions. He brings it forward. So when we come across building codes, and the ICC was in there, they get adopted every 3 years, and oftentimes they get ushered in as 5 ACH. And so what I usually tell people is 5 ACH is about the size of your door. And so if your door is open all the time, that's all your penetrations adding up. It's the same as your door being open. And I don't know about what your fathers told you growing up, but my mother and father said, were you born in a barn, right? When you walk in and you walk out, the door gets closed and your shoes come off. And that they weren't building scientists, but
Right.
they understood comfort. And so if you have a door open all the time, good night, right? It's uncomfortable. That's my go-to statement on ACH.
Mhm.
Love it, love it, love it. All right, let's give a couple of little shout outs here real quick, and then we'll keep going since we have you all on screen. All right. Greg Ugaldi called the White House. I just called and they said send Rob right over. There you go, Rob. There's your invitation.
Okay.
You know, the funny part is that may have actually happened.
Yeah. I can't wait to have a picture of Rob Dave. I'll tell you what. You and Greg standing next to Rob doing the blower door while Biden's dog is peeing on a bush. That would be an epic photo.
There you go. Hey, you know what? Dog's got to go to the bathroom too. All right. Yeah, the White House could be quite an accomplishment, according to Damian Martinez. Al Tennyson in the house. Happy PS Friday. What's happening, Al? Damien also agreed. I don't know which topic at one point, but I'm glad you agree with us. And Jerry McCahey in the house. Incredible work, Jerry said. In fact, I think I saw Jerry earlier. He is good morning, everyone, from glorious sunny California. So I didn't mean to skip over you, Jerry. Hopefully I didn't skip over anybody else. All right, guys, listen, we are at an hour and 7 minutes. Let's get into it, man. Let's give people what they came for. Back to the presentation, and I got to remove Jerry from the screen.
Hey, look at this. Here's some infrared for you guys.
I love it.
Yeah. So speaking of air leakage, you know, one of the things is air leakage has a big impact on the energy use of the building. If you compare it to the same area not having insulation versus the same area being a hole in your building, you're going to get many, many times more energy loss through the hole than you do with just no insulation.
So if we look at the photo on the left, Rob, it's not just purple. It is the dark purple. And I'll bet you there's people out there that have no idea what this picture is. They just think, ooh, I like orange. I like purple, right? This isn't an art fair. Can you tell them what they're seeing?
Yeah, this is one of my favorite. Sometimes I think of it as art because it's really fun, and sometimes they're really stunning images. So this is a greenhouse here. The darker colors are colder, and the yellow colors are at the warm end, and the scale goes from 52 degrees up to 63 degrees. We were doing a blower door test on this greenhouse, and if you see the darkest colors in there, they look kind of like streaks, and that's actually air getting into the greenhouse and streaking up the inside of the windows. So that's what was going on there.
So the greenhouse is probably a tempered fixed glazing, right? Not
miles
insulated.
miles of steam pipes underneath the greenhouse. Yeah.
Miles of steam pipes. So Scott Farman, I bet you like this photograph. And then the one on the right, or I guess the other photo, depending on who's left and who's right.
Yeah, that's the outside of a university building that we did commissioning on, and I think this was another cold day photo. The temperature goes from, oh look, the sky temperature is minus 40 degrees. That's basically the bottom end of the camera scale.
Yeah.
So that's like outer space, and then
Right.
it goes up to 39 degrees.
So, and so is that all the framing we're looking at there? The yellow, right? Let's talk about framing and the heat loss. I'm assuming that's what that is.
This is actually that's a finished exterior of the building. So it's there's curtain wall there, aluminum and glass, and there's some brick there on the left. And you see that stripe of the whitish color, the warmest color there. That's a corner of the building where I think some heat is getting through the envelope. Yeah.
So it's where two materials meet, or where there's a jog in the facade, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So an interesting part about the curtain wall, Rob, is I'm sure they're all fixed panels, but the little tiny rectangle in between, that seems to have a more highlighted color than the glazing itself.
Mm-hmm.
Really interesting.
Yeah. There's always a lot going on, and I'm looking at one part of it on the lower right, where there seems to be, a little bit of a blob of warmer color.
Yeah.
In that glass, and that will be sometimes the panes of glass get sucked in close to each other, and you get more heat transfer through there.
Interesting. So like in a double pane or a triple pane glass, if they're a little bit closer than another part of the window, it'll show that?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Wow, that's pretty intense. Cool.
Yeah, so hey, the words on the top of the page. So commissioning is hands-on energy efficiency, where you really, you can really see it and touch it. And here's my what do you want to call this quote? Blower door testing and IR are dynamic, dramatic, and sexy. That makes it makes energy efficiency from the bastard child of green, from not being very interesting. People can see solar panels and they can see windmills. How do you see energy efficiency?
Yeah.
This is how you see it right here.
Oh, it's as an exercise, when children are shown this slide, I bet they're receptive, right? Because that's how we communicate, right? Through colors and shapes. And it's a simple way to show science, because not all kids are going to be interested in framing or drywall or, quartz countertops, but shapes and things moving, that's something that, is a natural phenomenon that you're a part to. I've never done thermal imaging photos with a classroom before. And Dave, you know why I'm saying that, right? You got kids at home too. You got classroom agendas too. This is I like how you worded it to be, what was it? Sexy, artistic. What was the word?
Got it right here for you. Dramatic.
Yeah, dynamic, dramatic, and sexy. It's also creative and artistic, right? It's insightful. Love it. Thank you for taking us through the orange and the yellow and the purple and the color formulation. I hope everyone now understands why the blower door and the therm camera is used.
100%. All right, back to it.
Very powerful tools. Here's the same building. You can see it in visible light. So this is a LEED Gold building, and we got to do commissioning on it. Pretty cool.
Physical building.
Yeah.
Oh, now I gotta ask, Rob. So you're at that building. It's clearly a new construction building, and the building next to it looks like a historic building. Did you
Mhm.
happen to take any photos of that one with the therm?
I did actually. Yeah. Maybe on the other side, there's a similar older building.
It's so great when you deal with building science folks, is because while you're there for your job and to achieve results with your clients, you can't turn off curiosity, right? And comparison, because it's receiving the same temperature, it's receiving the same sunlight, but it's behaving differently because of how it's put together.
Mhm. Yeah, this building, new building, if you look at it, it's 6 stories or something like that, 5 stories above grade, and has a basement. But anyway, the thing that I say about this one building is it has just about every envelope condition you can imagine, happening, and it's connected to 3 other buildings on the campus. So it's about as much building envelope as you can see in, a number of.
If it's connected to those buildings, that had to make it arduous to do the blower door testing, right?
You'd have to seal it off, right?
So we didn't do blower door testing on it. And it's, it doesn't always get done on every envelope commissioning project. But we did some other kinds of testing on it, which I could go to on the next slide, I believe. Oh, no, the next slide is another building that we did.
This shows that you're agnostic, Rob, because you've given the gambit on the type of certifications that you're involved in. It's really impressive.
Yeah, well, we'll do what people want us to do, right? I'd love to be able to make every building be passive house, but I don't have the power to do that. So we'll take people where they want to go. This is another library in Pittsburgh, and this is, we believe, the first passive house certified library in North America. And we got to do the verification on this one.
And it's beautiful, and it has a wicked awesome gutter, right?
Yeah.
The scupper is pronounced. Solar shading. It's gorgeous. Love it.
Yep, it's a nice little jewel box of a building, is what we call it in architecture school. All right, so here's the other test that we do, or that happened with envelope commissioning. Upper left is testing the air barrier to see how well it's adhered to the sheathing. So this is a fluid applied air barrier that's supposed to stick, and this guy's putting a pressure suction device on it to see how well it sticks.
How much does that gizmo cost?
I don't even know. I don't have one myself.
Okay.
But, it's more of a manual tool. It's not super digitized or anything. So,
Well, if anyone is listening and you carry those products, please mail one to Dave, mail one to Rob. Don't mail one to me, because I wouldn't know how to use it.
Yeah, me either. But we'll definitely talk about it on the show.
I like that photo though, because you can see the shadow of that. The thing has a crank on it, and he's turning the crank to ratchet up the pressure on the suction there.
I know Kevin Brennan does that as third party. He's down the road from me quite a ways, but it's always nice to see. People don't think about taking this photo, but this photo is insightful, because without this measure, you've gone through the work of doing something, but what is it doing, or what is it not doing?
Yeah, I mean, the problem is if the air barrier, if there's something wrong with the substrate and it's not sticky, and the fluid applied doesn't stick to it, then you don't really have an air barrier.
Right.
So, yeah. So upper right there is spray testing of curtain wall system. So, making sure that the curtain wall is watertight. The guy on the outside there on the lift has got a hose with a spray nozzle, and he's spraying that curtain wall a certain number of minutes for every like 5 feet of framing. And then the guy on the ladder is inside, and he's got a flashlight, and he's looking really close for any water that gets through. And on the bottom here is a testing and balancing agent who's measuring flow through this one register. So, we get into, with passive standards, we get into the envelope and we get into the mechanical stuff. And we do that on passive projects. And on other types of commissioning, the mechanical commissioning gets pretty extensive. And that's when we call our friends to help us out.
This kind of reminds me, Dave, of when Bill Hayward was on, right? He did the lemon pledge test.
Yes, he did.
And spray the lemon pledge, and if you're standing on the other side of the window and you can smell it, it probably leaks.
Yeah, that's a tricky one. You need the smellometer for that.
The smellometer. Our glazing systems, we were very messy contractors, and so at the end of the day, we just fill up a 5-gallon bucket of water and throw it against the wall and get the dust and dirt off, and then if water was on the inside, we know we made a mistake.
I love it. Here's a comment from Greg Ugaldi, Mark. I always like the mic that Mark uses, the size of R2D2. Old school. That's right, man. That's right. All right, guys, listen, we're at 1 hour and 20. We got about 10 minutes, so let's get her going.
Yeah, let's finish up. So this is the outside of the building where they were doing that water spray test. One of our partners who we met on that medical office project, we've ended up working a lot with them. They did on this big building here, it's a sports complex. They did the well building and the reset air certifications. So this is like an indoor sports complex. And then the big metal building you see on the right has a full football field, professional sized football field inside the building. On the right, there's another metal building with 6 full-size basketball courts. And they're going to, this blue tower here, they're going to put a zip line coming off of that. So it's a real fun place to go.
I'm there. Let's go.
Where is this?
It is in near Wheeling, West Virginia.
Okay, so Jennifer, Dave, time to go to West Virginia. We're going to get Dave on the zip line with his camera waving to Rob. So in a building this big with the commissioning and all these athletes and smelly locker rooms, how do you even measure that ventilation change? Because if done incorrectly, this could really be a mess, Rob. It has to be commissioned.
Yep. Yeah, you got to make sure the ventilation is working, right? You've got locker rooms and restrooms with 10 stalls in them, stuff like that. You want that air sucked out of there.
Yeah.
So, yep.
Pressurize the hallway. Depressurize the bathroom.
Yeah, climbing wall and arcade too. So it's got everything.
Oh, so the arcade is putting off all that kind of heat too, right?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Well, that makes sense. I mean, that's down by WVU, Wheeling, West Virginia. That's where the Mountaineers are at, right? So
yeah. Well, I think they're in Morgantown, but
they're in Morgantown.
Yeah.
Same direction though, right? Yeah, Morgantown.
So then you have you when we really think about it, right? So the building's modeled and it's empty, and there's 6 or 7 people starting the day, and then there's 40, 50 people starting the concessions, and then the athletes show up, and then thousands of people show up, these walking around human furnaces. it's a lot that the building is being asked to do, right? And that commissioning is epic, because if the machine's not firing, you got problems.
Mm-hmm. Yep, and we're making a difference on this one. We have a partner who's doing that mechanical commissioning, and they're making sure everything works. So,
Sounds
As it
like a
should.
great partner. Love that project, Rob.
mhm. All right, here's a few more photos. I think I have like 3 more slides. So we have a blower door set up in a giant church building here. On the left, that's our computer that's controlling 16 blower door fans at one time.
Wow.
And there's a couple of them in the middle there. So I think that was probably the biggest volume of a blower door test building that we've seen. It's a church building that takes up a whole city block. It's kind of like a cathedral. So,
Wow.
I mean, the modeling alone had to take you days, right?
yeah, well, that was actually the same group that did the well building certification.
Oh,
on the last
okay.
slide. And yeah, that model was incredible. So yeah, and then on the right is a test of how many watts the ventilation system is pulling when it's running. That's a passive house requirement.
So did you have to pressurize and depressurize the building?
On this one, we tried. This is one, like you said, Mark, where we didn't hit test pressure on the pressurized side.
Yeah.
So, but we took the measurement from the depressurized side, and we got a valid measurement, and that's what it was. Actually, this building is built in the 1930s, and it has the best of everything money could buy back then.
Yeah.
It was funded by the Mellon family,
Oh,
and it's airtight.
yeah.
It's like more airtight than office buildings, 50 years younger than it. So.
The
Wow.
Mellon family, they were the ones that did that Rodney Dangerfield movie, Back to School, right? So you have the facade is stone, right? The windows are steel, and then the glazing compound of probably stained glass.
Mm-hmm.
Boy, that's interesting. Pressurizing and depressurizing those incredible windows that we find in the churches. Really neat to see the technology with the craftsmanship of a church. To me, there's nothing more inspiring than the craftsmanship that goes into our churches and cathedrals.
Yeah, and they must have had some of the best, in the world at that time.
Yeah.
Brought them into Pittsburgh. All right. This is, I think, my last building slide here.
I love this one.
You've seen this one, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is in Kansas City, and Rhett was here with me when we did the final blower door test in October. And can you see that ACH number down there?
Yep.
0.18 ACH 50. So the old passive house standard is 0.6. This is less than a third of that. This is a precast concrete apartment building. There's actually 2 buildings, and each building has 138 apartments in it. So, and if you actually look, this has the blower door test CFM numbers. We had 4 blower doors set up, and the test wasn't working, and it was because we had too many blower doors.
Oh,
So,
wow.
Yeah, we had to take 2 of the blower doors out, and
full confession here, right? This slide is the reason I picked up the phone and called you that one day, Rob, because you have so many units, and you shared this on social media or in one of the meetings we were at or something. And I'm like, the people Remember, they're people, not occupants. The people in the building are so lucky, right?
Yeah.
It is a comfortable, incredibly well built and test building. This slide is one of my favorite slides ever. It's so impressive, Rob.
Yeah, I love it, huh?
Love it.
Our friends at the White House, if the White House had those numbers and every government building had those numbers, we would be healthy and have a surplus.
Yeah, that's right. Yep.
Surplus of energy.
Surplus of, well, we're healthy, right? So we're not wasting energy
Yeah.
on unhealthy things.
So here's a
right?
question.
But
Here's a
surplus-
question for you.
What's
How
that,
much-
Rob?
How much does it cost to not do that? Right.
Exponential.
Right. That's the question to ask. You know, sometimes people say, "Well, how much does it cost to do that? How much does it cost to not do that?"
Well, listen, guys. Let's what? I can't even talk right now. Hey, let's bring Rhett Major back in, shall we?
Yeah, that's because
Further
Rob
out,
did all the good talking. You and I don't need to talk, Dave. Rob handed it forward.
Oh, he did the whole way through.
Forward with a PH. Hey, Rhett.
What's happening, Rhett?
I just remembered when he brought up that last building. We just did that last fall. It was an adventure. Wearing masks and riding planes out to Kansas City.
So when you're doing the test, Rhett, and you discover that you have too many blower doors, was that a mind-blowing moment?
Yeah. We could do the higher test pressures with all 4 doors, but when we got down to lower test pressures, we had to go down to 2. I think is the way it worked.
Yeah, you know, amidst the struggle of actually making it work, you know, once you get past that, then you get to have your mind blown. So
What was the mechanical system on that building?
you wanna go?
Each room had its own heat pump, didn't it, Rob?
So
I think they're
VRF.
the VRF system. Yeah,
Yep.
and then a gigantic ventilation system that had a ventilation unit on every floor and a hole in the bottom and a hole in the top of the building, and that's how the air got through.
Those construction professionals should truly be celebrated, right? Because I'm sure there was great designs on the building, but it's one thing to receive a good set of designs. It's another thing to put it in motion, because 160 units, is that right?
Yeah, 138 on each side.
On
So
each side,
Yeah. Mhm.
right? So impressive. I know we don't have as many awards in our industry as we should, but seeing is believing, right? Now other folks that are doing 138 unit buildings, or in this case times 2, you can't argue that it can't be done,
That's right. Yep.
because it exists. There's no doubting Thomas in the room. We all believe that it can happen.
Yeah, very
Yeah,
much.
and you know what you said about contractors, that's exactly right. You know, they have to be the experts, you know, at knowing what the design is, and you know, probably, you know, more than other people do. So
Yep, it's
Well, having
empowering. My favorite slide by far. The church was glorious and impressive, but that number that you got on this, holy smokehouse!
Love it, love it. Well, listen, guys, thank you for joining us today. I mean, this has been an enlightening experience. The fact that you can do projects of that scale in an old church. I mean,
Brett was at the church.
I would have thought a stone church would leak like a sieve. I mean, you would have thought that it would have just had holes all through all the mortar and tenon and everything else that's in there. Apparently not, huh?
So Rhett, did you hear in the show that we're going to see if we could get Rob to the White House? Will you be joining him?
I did hear that. It hasn't had a good remodel since after FDR.
After FDR.
They gutted it from the inside. I just read a story about that. They gutted it from the inside and rebuilt it from the inside, and they didn't tell a lot of people what was going on. They just put big shoring up there to hold the roof, and then tore it out from the inside and redid it all.
So maybe we can manufacture triple pane windows in the U.S. Right? Give them a new window job. What else could we do for them? Right? Give them some VRF systems.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, some good VRFs and ERVs and all the letters.
What is
Once upon a
VRF?
time, I believe that wonderful building had solar panels on it, didn't it?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
We're not going down that rabbit hole. What is VRF?
Stands for variable refrigerant flow. It's a heat pump system that if you have a big building, it has different loads on different sides of the building. So on the south side, they may be calling for cooling, and on the north side, they may be calling for heating. And they have individual air handlers inside the apartments or rooms. And then a big thing on the roof is able to trade heating and cooling off between those places.
Yep. So like a commercial restaurant or these university buildings, they're pretty much always in cooling mode, right? The people are furnaces. I mean, it's so funny, but we are furnaces, and you put a bunch of moving furnaces in a room with the humidity, and you gotta adjust. And VRF is very efficient and manageable for that. It's amazing.
Yeah, I agree. And ERV, energy recovery ventilators. We all know that one, but I thought it was important to explain to the guests what the other one meant. We don't talk about that very often. All right, everybody, listen, today has been a wonderful show. I want to thank Rob and Rhett both for joining us today. Both are from Pittsburgh. Rob, outstanding presentation. The numbers don't lie. I think that's the best thing you can get out of this. The infrared does not lie. It is what it is. So, all right, guys. So both of you, thank you for joining us today. Thank you for everybody out there that tuned in for today and all the comments. And everybody joined us from Twitch. We're still growing on Twitch. Love it. Love it.
You guys.
Right. Fellas, you guys have a wonderful weekend. Thank you for tuning in today. Don't go anywhere. We'll come right back to you after the outro. But first, I want to make sure everybody knows, to include you four, that you need to be joining us on Monday. We got NREL in the house, and we are going to be talking about, I think it's $40 billion worth of money that they're spending on how do you retrofit homes to save on energy. They got all kinds of research and everything else going on. They're trying to get the word out there. They are looking for partners. Maybe it's up your alley. Who knows? What the heck?
Start with the blower door. You got to know the baseline. Love it.
Baseline. So join us, everybody. Tickers in the information down below. Anchor Potter, Shanty Press, and Lucas Tripoli on Building Advanced Manufacturing. All right, everyone. My name is Dave Cooper. And, of course, everybody knows the Mark Bare Naked Willie. And now everybody knows Rob Hopkin and Rhett Major. So you guys hang tight. We will see you tomorrow on Coffee with Dave, 9-ish in the morning. And we'll definitely be here Monday, 1 p.m. Bye now.